Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and my name is Nadia. Let's be real, this is one of those topics people whisper about, judge quietly or completely misunderstand. Wait, if you're a lesbian, why would you ever have sex with men? That question alone carries a lot of assumptions about identity, desire, pressure, and what it means to truly know yourself. So today we're unpacking it. No shame, no judgment, just honesty. Because here's the truth, sexuality is more complex than people like to admit. First, let's talk about the confusion around this topic. A lot of people think sexuality is rigid, like once you identify as a lesbian, your experiences must perfectly align with that label. But real life doesn't work like that. Some lesbians have had experiences with men in the past. Some might still occasionally do. Some feel curiosity, some feel pressure, and some are navigating their identity in a world that constantly questions it. Most people don't talk about this, but identity isn't just about behavior, it's about attraction, emotional connection, and how you understand yourself. Having an experience with someone doesn't automatically define your orientation, and at the same time, it can bring up a lot of complicated feelings. Now let's go deeper. Why would a lesbian have sex with men? There isn't just one answer. For some, it's about exploration, especially when you're younger or still figuring things out. Society doesn't exactly hand you a clear roadmap for understanding your sexuality. For others, it's about pressure. And this is a big one. Let's be honest, we live in a world where heterosexuality is often treated as the default. That can lead to situations where women feel like they should try to fit into that mold, even if it doesn't feel right. Then there's emotional context. Maybe there's a connection with a specific person. Maybe there's curiosity about what it feels like. Maybe there's a desire to test your identity. And sometimes it's about safety or survival in environments where being openly lesbian isn't accepted. Here's the truth. Human behavior is layered. It's influenced by culture, family, media, relationships, and internal conflict. So judging someone based on one experience, that's way too simplistic. Now let's talk about what this can feel like emotionally, because this is where it gets real. Some women feel neutral about the experience. Some feel confused afterwards. Some feel disconnected during it. And others might feel like they're betraying themselves. That emotional disconnect is something many people don't expect. You can go through the motions physically, but emotionally, something feels off, like you're not fully there. And that matters because your body and your mind are always communicating with you, even when you're trying to ignore it. This is why self-awareness is so important. Not judgment, not shame, just awareness. Let me give you a real life type of scenario. Imagine a woman who identifies as a lesbian, but is in a social circle where everyone assumes she's straight. She meets a guy who's kind, respectful, and genuinely interested in her. There's no pressure, just a subtle expectation that something might happen. She thinks, maybe I should try. Maybe I'm overthinking this. So she goes through with it. During the experience, she might feel disconnected or like she's performing rather than participating. Afterwards, she might question herself. Did I like that? What does this mean about me? Am I actually confused? Here's the truth. One experience doesn't invalidate your identity, but it can be a moment of learning about your boundaries, your desires, and what feels authentic to you. Now let's talk about something really important, boundaries, because this is where a lot of people struggle. Just because you're curious doesn't mean you owe anyone access to your body. Just because someone is nice doesn't mean you have to say yes. And just because you've said yes before doesn't mean you have to say yes again. Boundaries are not about rejecting others, they're about respecting yourself. And in situations like this, clear communication is everything. You don't need to over-explain your identity, you don't need to justify your choices, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. A simple, honest, this isn't what I want is enough. Let's also talk about communication, especially in modern dating. With dating apps, DMs, and online interactions, there's often this blurred line between curiosity and pressure. A lesbian woman might get messages like, are you sure you haven't met the right guy yet? I could change your mind. Let's pause right there. That's not attraction. That's disrespect. Your identity is not a challenge for someone else to win. And engaging in conversations like that can sometimes lead to situations where you feel pushed into something you didn't actually want. So here's a tip, protect your digital boundaries just as much as your physical ones. You're allowed to block, ignore, or disengage without guilt. Now let's shift into practical advice. If you're a lesbian who's had or is considering having sex with men, ask yourself a few honest questions. Am I doing this because I genuinely want to or because I feel like I should? Do I feel safe, respected, and fully comfortable in this situation? Am I emotionally present or just going along with it? How do I feel afterward, empowered, neutral, or unsettled? These questions aren't meant to judge you, they're meant to guide you, because your experiences should align with your sense of self, not pull you away from it. Another important point, give yourself permission to evolve. Sexuality can feel fluid for some people and fixed for others. Both are valid, but don't let external opinions define your internal truth. You don't need to label yourself perfectly at every stage of your life, and you definitely don't need to explain your journey to people who aren't living it. Let's be real again. There's a lot of pressure out there from society, from dating culture, even from within LGBTQ+ communities to fit a certain narrative. But your story doesn't have to look like anyone else's. You're allowed to have a past that doesn't perfectly match your present. You're allowed to explore, reflect, and grow. And most importantly, you're allowed to choose what feels right for you moving forward. So let's wrap this up. Having sex with men as a lesbian is not about contradiction, it's about context. It's about understanding why something happens, how it feels, and what it means to you. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here, but there is one consistent truth. Your body, your identity, and your choices belong to you. No one else gets to define them. No one else gets to question them into submission. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this. Listen to yourself, not the noise, not the pressure, not the expectations, just you. Because the more honest you are with yourself, the more aligned your relationships, experiences, and decisions will become. And if this resonated with you or made you think a little deeper, make sure you stick around, because these are the conversations most people avoid, but they're the ones that actually change how we understand ourselves and each other.